to 2024 season here at COMETSA Radio Worldwide. The mind, the journey, the destiny. We are back with our series. We start with a very interesting one, digital online streaming mastery development show, a follow-up to the show we have had here at COMETSA Radio Worldwide in 2020, 2021. That was during the COVID, and we continued as a culture to educate ourselves, our network, our listeners, members, friends, and supporters around the technology platforms, the digital streaming platforms. This is going to be exciting series. Going to happen every Tuesday evening from 1800 hours to 1900 hours, and then followed by the other new show, the COMETSA Business Academy show that we'll introduce later on. This is home indeed. We inform and entertain, we develop and educate, we empower and support, we associate and network. I'm joined this evening by two colleagues, the graduates of our 2020-2021 show, Divesh Muthilial and Maynard Maisela, who will join us a little bit later once his load shedding schedule is being completed. So, or when the electricity is back. Divesh, let me first greet you, my friend. Welcome to 2024. It's so wonderful to talk to you. You've been away studying, and maybe you need to tell us if you did manage to get your master's in artificial intelligence. Perhaps first greet the listeners and tell us what you have been busy with.
Thank you, Sam, and evening to you and also to the listeners. As you mentioned, I was doing my master's in intelligent or artificial intelligence with the University of Johannesburg, and it was really an eye-opening experience, but I finally managed to complete it. So yes, I'm ready and willing to tackle the new age of artificial intelligence that's taking the world by storm at the moment.
Wow. When is the graduation, Divesh?
That's an interesting one because I'm still waiting for the university to come through and let us know when those graduations will take place.
Wow, beautiful. We are indeed excited that you have concluded it and will benefit from it. Perhaps while we are waiting for Maynard, you may want to just tell people a little bit about yourself over and above what you have just shared now.
Thank you, Sam. As you mentioned, Divesh Motilal, I'm an electrical engineer by profession. Studied electrical engineering at UCT, the University of Cape Town, and then I went on to do a master's in technology management at the University of Pretoria. And because South Africa was then going into the space of renewable energy, I did study a master's in renewable and sustainable energy at Stellenbosch. And as I mentioned earlier, then I went into a master's in artificial intelligence with the University of Johannesburg. As you would gather, I do enjoy keeping abreast and learning new skills and techniques and acquiring new knowledge because the world, as we know, Sam, is evolving. And in order for us to be able to give the most value back to the environments in which we work, you need to keep yourself abreast from the new skills and knowledges that's taking place in our environment. Other than that, I'm a parent to 3 kids. I've got a daughter and 2 sons, and I'm hoping that this COMETSA community which we're trying to build is for the future, the kids that we are also taking care of. Thank you, Sam.
Beautiful. Maynard is struggling a little bit. I've just asked him to try and log out and log in because he said he was in, but we couldn't see him. Yeah, the digital online streaming mastery show, we are responding to the explosion of a market out there, Divesh. And I was just checking the statistics, and it says here that the internet radio market size was valued at about USD 2.1 billion in 2022. And now in 2023, recently, it's at 2.5 billion USD, and it's projected that by 2032 it will be sitting at 9.5 billion dollars US dollars, and that those are the global statistics. Um, any link to what you have just been studying there, and any reason why is this explosion, and where is South Africa in your view? Welcome back, Menat. Carry on, Divesh.
Thank you, Sam. Welcome as well, Maynard. In response to your point, Sam, yes, those figures, they're very impressive, and I would personally say they're not surprising to me. I'm very convinced by those numbers. And the reason for that is, I'm sure, amongst ourselves and amongst our listeners as well, they will come across a social influencer. The world has become very digital, it's very connected. The world is much smaller than what it used to be, and predominantly because of the influence of technology. And the advent of people being able to reach resources, people being able to talk or communicate to different markets anywhere in the world. It's something that's come about as we had the internet. But over the years, technology is moving so fast that it's becoming, in essence, much, much smaller. And that also brings about a lot of technologies and platforms which we can utilize if we can develop certain skills to benefit from them. So
Mm.
those numbers for me, even on the local South African market, I've seen local social media influencers who have
Mm.
utilized these tools either to sell themselves as brands and to build themselves as a brand so that they can generate revenue out of themselves, or to even stimulate their own products, whether it's business, whether it's skills that they want to share to the rest of the world. These technologies have really come to fruition in that we can reach markets now we couldn't even dream of before, Sam.
Yeah, yeah, because internet streaming has got no limits. For as long as you are connected to the internet, you can reach anyone anywhere in the world.
And it's true as well that not only can we reach any place in the world, but once we put our message out there, that message will even outlive ourselves. It will be accessible to future generations. So it's an opportunity as well for us to share and capture, skills, knowledge, to store it into the internet for generations to come to even enjoy.
Indeed. I was quite pleased when I read this report where I picked up this market statistics. It is a growth of 18.2% of a compounded annual growth rate during this forecast period of 2023 to 2032. And they went on to state that the reasons are quite obvious, as you stated as well, Divesh. Among others, the reasons are that less expensive streaming, massive data storage, data gathering, and the development of potent technologies as key drivers of this explosion of these streaming platforms that we are seeing these days.
Yes, Sam, and those are the positives. But we must also be cognizant, especially in Africa. And one of the aspects which I actually delved into with the masters in the AI is that of ethics. And from a technology perspective, in order for countries such as South Africa or other countries in Africa to protect themselves, because these technologies that we are developing, you've got to develop the skills to benefit from these technologies, or you get left behind, and then all that billions of dollars which you've outlined is money that is sent to other countries and markets other than South Africa, for example, or our listeners benefiting from that. So we must also be careful that we do acquire the skills to tap into these markets, to benefit from these markets.
Which is the objective of our show. And we'll get to that just now and also give the listeners the context, because you and I and many others, we started this conversation during COVID in 2020, and we ran for 14 months nonstop of DJing and hosting online streaming. So, and we developed these 35 conducts, which are the do's and don'ts of online streaming. And as I welcome Maynard, Maynard, you may also reflect on the journey you traveled with us then and the challenges we used to put through to you. Welcome and greetings to you, and greet the listeners, please.
Thanks, Nadisam, and good afternoon, listeners. As they have introduced myself, my name is Maynard. I'm the director at Mysela Corporate Branding. Yes, Nadisam, we went through this journey and reflecting on the other do's and don'ts of this technology as we are engaging in this AR. And there are a lot of aspects that we definitely looked into. And one of those things is how do we introduce ourselves as we engage into this streaming. So yes, I think today is going to be one of those interesting journey for sure.
Yeah, and I want us just to remind the listeners the objectives or the learning outcomes of this conversation. This is a 40 units modular program, which could also be available for workshops and seminars. But the objective really is for us as people who are participating in the streaming industry, either audio or video, to really learn the do's and don'ts. And we want to acquire the knowledge, the skills and competencies, and the ability to conceptualize, develop, schedule, produce, host, moderate, and anchor, and even DJ. The Maynard and Divesh, you know these days when the games play, there's millions and millions of people that don't actually listen to the mainstream television. They actually decide to listen to the streamers, because the streamers take the content of the mainstream television and they enrich it instantaneously as the game is playing. Isn't that the entrepreneurship opportunity for Africa with so much opportunities of content, Divesh?
Yes, Sam. And as I mentioned earlier, the future is the youth, and the youth want information now. They want it when they're in the mood for it, and often they have these followers, as I mentioned as well, that the social media influencers, they can easily sell ice to an Eskimo by building that brand. And one of the things that I personally have learned from the digital online streaming mastery program is that the element of Lukotla, for example, where we look at a community perspective, you learn from one another, and everyone has an opportunity to learn new skills, and everyone has an opportunity to even teach new skills. And as you'd mentioned, Sam, we're also looking at people who do make the social media picture, videos, and audio podcasts, who have skills, who have a story to share with the rest of the world. But the type of skills that we are structuring to teach and to share with our audiences is skills that can only enhance the products that people may have in themselves or with regards to a business, but also for the opportunity for new skills to be developed, new careers to be developed, and new storytellers to be coming out of South Africa and from Africa. Thank you, Sam.
Indeed. And Maynard,
Yeah,
from the marketing point of view, how can you, as somebody that has gone through this program before and now working with us here, help those people that have decided to become entrepreneurs by streaming and really creating content? What do you think, from your knowledge, they are missing that you, as an expert, can help them with?
Yes, thanks so much, Nelson. Nowadays, streaming podcast is one of those lucrative market. And looking at the TikTokers, like that is another market that is currently booming, the TikTok.
Yeah.
So I think like the youth need to definitely look into that, because now TikTok, you can also monetize it. You can definitely make a very good bucks on that. So they need to create a good content and restructure how they reproduce their TikTokers or their TikTok content. They definitely need to go on the basics on how, when if maybe there is a podcast or anything, like how do you introduce your content and how do you introduce your speakers, things like that. Or even if maybe you are just live streaming something, how do you unpack the content of what you are producing so that it can be valuable to your listeners or your viewers. So I think the TikTokers definitely need to take their business very serious as well.
I hear you saying that they have to actually distinguish themselves. In other words, they have to differentiate themselves from others by the way they're packaging and researching their content.
Yeah, you need to be outstanding, definitely, because now the TikTok is flooding, and your content need to be outstanding all the time. It's a competitive market at the end of the day as well.
Mm, wonderful. Thank you so much. I want us to look at few things that we are making available as members of this platform, but also the units that we will be looking at, the 40 units. Today is really just an introduction and overview. But before I do that, Divesh, as you were going through the do's and don'ts of, okay, we just lost Divesh. Maynard, maybe I can bring this to you. As we were going through the do's and don'ts of streaming, which don'ts stand out for you as you look at so many people that are streaming nowadays? What are the things that you think they are doing wrong as they're hosting their streaming channels? And
Yeah, one other thing that I noticed with our live streamers or TikTokers, is that like one thing that I can say is a don't that they don't have to do when they are live. Most of them, they just like eating or drinking on live streaming, and such things is one of those things that like people might not take them very serious or take them very light, but it's easier for you to choke while you're online. And now like the content is compromised, but like when you look most of our TikTokers, they just eat or drink or things like that, but that is one of the don'ts that
yeah.
they definitely need to look into.
So are you saying that DJ Sbu is wrong to drink his special drink while he's hosting his streaming show? Divesh?
Yeah, no, I know. The gentleman, I actually follow him a lot as well, and he like drinking a lot when he's live there. And it's one of those dance things that you definitely need to not. I understand maybe on one of his podcasts, he says he's trying to pull for a sponsorship from the supplier or whatever, but it's one of those things that they actually don't have to do it. Like you maybe rather put that bottle there and not drink it if it's
Because
all
it
about
could
marketing.
for him because he is a brand and he has a very very strong value proposition with that drink. It's okay. It's almost like Maliba putting on the Maliba shirt. No any other president
Yes,
did it before, but it might be
yeah,
misleading for the young ones, Divesh, that are wanting to join. And therefore, the program and the course that we are offering is meant for those who are really just new entrants they must know the do's and don'ts until they are established brands like DJ Swoo.
Yes, yes, Sam. I agree with you. It's a time and place, and you gotta learn to walk first before you can own the place, and then decide, okay, I'm breaking the rules now because I've earned the right, and it will be tolerated by your followers by then. But you got to build yourself to that point. And rightfully said, different strokes for different folks. You got to learn the basics, and we are looking at more the structured form of doing things right and doing things in a sustainable manner. So you could have a product or a service that you want to talk about today, but if you follow the digital online streaming mastery program and the skills that we would like to impart, it will allow you to then grow your story for the next, few years, or for however long that you want to actually develop content to grow your audience that's actually interested in what you have to say. But yes, different markets again, uh, the affiliation of that guy drinking a certain soda and maybe even the language they're using or the clothes they use, it's something that might actually attract a certain audience, and that audience base may grow, but it's not necessarily to say that is something that will work for everybody. It's one in a million. But what we are talking about with regards to the digital online streaming mastery is the structured approach where as many people as possible can get value out of what we would share. They need to still obviously go out and get what is their magic that they want to package, and the skills that we share with them. How do they take those skills and the idea that they have and put the two together and make it work for them, Sam?
Indeed, indeed. Can I test the two of you in terms of the preconditions that we have lined up here? That once people have acquired this knowledge, the do's and don'ts, the 35 conducts, as we call them, that as we did here, we will want them to have that. And I would like you to respond. Then that is, the first point is, what is the objective of your streaming program and platform, right? The content that you're putting together and sharing, what is the objective of you doing that? Just make note of that, and I would like you to comment on any one of them. Secondly, what will be the outcome of your show? I mean, if you host a show every day, either political, economic, or social or community, what will you see as the outcome of that show as a value proposition or a product? How do you actually learn and practice from your own shows, right? Or from the others, perhaps? And how do you go about register your show or log your show onto your platform or network of followers? Because all these people have followers. We want to know about that. And the scheduling is more important. Is it frequently, or is it ad hoc, or is it on demand, basically, which is basically the same as ad hoc? And what are the preconditions for you, for anyone to be invited to your show? And what kind of guests do you get at your show? Can anyone just be brought onto your show and then you talk to them? And how do you go about promoting it? Is it integrated into the social media platform, or is it just hanging out there and people cannot even know where to trace it? And when do you know that you are really ready to call yourself a streamer, if I may use that? Any comments on that based on the program you have done before and what we are going to be sharing with the colleagues? Any one of you? Yes.
What I would like to add, Sam, is for example, I was hosting a leadership program. We were doing a video stream, but it's much the same applicable to a audio stream. And I selected that because I consider myself a sector expert, not necessarily in any specific one, because as I mentioned earlier, I've got engineering, business, even AI.
Sorry, we have some people visiting you there, Maynard. Okay, carry on, Divesh.
Thank you, Sam. So in terms of being a sector expert, if you've got a specific skill, if you've got a specific love, and then you're actually good at a certain service that you would offer, that's one of the ways that you could determine what your objective of your streaming show could be, something that you're passionate about. So you got to have something specific that has some kind of calling to you. For my example, I chose leadership because I'm passionate about leadership. I've been trained from an academic perspective, but from a work life experience perspective as well. I've been able to test my leadership capabilities and strengths. And then if I move on, once I've decided that this is the area that I want to focus in on from a show perspective, I would then select guests that fit into my theme of my show. And the selection of the guests as well should be type of guests that you can actually bring value to your show. It's a guest that your potential listeners would be interested in hearing from, and somebody that you actually can work with on the show, that you can have a good conversation with. And of course, you do research against that guest to see their background so that you can pose the kinds of questions and lead your show as you would be hosting it. But it's a long process even before you even have the show, that you've got to do a lot of preparation work. In terms of the audience, you would obviously be creating the show for a specific audience as well. Then the marketing of the show as well, you'd need to be able to put it out there so your audience can see, or your potential audience can see, that you have the show that's coming up, and have a build up to get them excited to actually join and become followers of your show. So your social media, in particular for online streaming, is very important to advertise your show, advertise your guest. And in terms of scheduling, you have to decide whether you're having it on a monthly basis, a weekly basis, or even a daily basis. And that again would rely on what the objective of the show is and what kind of guests that you intend having. Because you plan your show not just only for that one show, but maybe for the rest of the year, or maybe 3 or 4 shows in advance, so that you have that level of sustainability and it becomes an actual business. Sam, that's my take for now.
Beautiful.
Wow. Yeah, and I think Divesh has said a mouthful indeed. But looking at my side as well, I was more hosting the conferencing and events management professional show. And yes, the objective of that show, like, it was mainly to contribute to social cohesion, to promote the mutual working relationship, and even developing the facilitators and the events planners for conferencing and events management. So basically, like, when you invite your speakers, you need to check somebody relevant definitely to your show, and somebody who will add more value to your audience as well. Because, like, when you're inviting guests, you need to look at your audience, like if that person is of high profile in that space. I think that is very important as well. And promoting your shows, definitely we depended mostly on the social media platforms, your LinkedIn, your Facebook. Like, we promoted the show, like, on those social media platforms. And yeah, basically Divesh have said a mouthful, but definitely that's how it is.
Mm, mm. So it's not just about putting the content together. You really have to worry a bit about the entire system. And I'm told the Divesh that as I read also that one of the key fundamental is consistency and frequency of your show. Otherwise, your audience might just not really be interested. If one day you are in, one day you are not in, they don't know whether you are coming on a Monday or Tuesday or Thursday. Any comment on that? And then also from a marketing point of view, Maynard, you might also comment after Divesh's comment.
No, thank you, Sam. It's very important because you want to have followers, and your followers must know what to expect from you, not only from a content perspective, but you must respect your followers as well, your listeners. In that, if you're scheduling a meeting or rather a show, they must be given what they're expecting on time and within the quality that you expect. And if you can keep that consistency, that not only shows respect for your audience and your listeners, but it also gives the brand that you're building, the show's brand, your own personal brand, that longevity that people will want to keep coming back to listen and enjoy the content that you provide, Sam.
Mm. And I guess that will require discipline, Maynard.
Indeed, you need to be very disciplined. You need to be very consistent. Even in marketing, definitely, consistency is a key. Like one thing I've learned about the TikTok as well, because I follow much as well on TikTok, is that the more you are consistent, advertising daily or maybe weekly, you tend to gain new followers almost every week. So every time you advertise, you gain a new follower in most cases. So consistency in that aspect is a key for somebody to know. And just the highlight, like I can say, even my business, it survived 10 years due to consistency. Indeed, if you are consistent, you will definitely gonna go far.
Mm, mm. One other challenge is when you listen or you watch some of these streamers, obviously you are always very interested to know about the source of their content, as to whether they are curating somebody's content, which is very common these days with people curating the traditional television stations, broadcast, and then packaging them, enriching them, and deepening the discussion, or they come with the original content of their own. And I think the third one will be people who really research out to find out what is out there and then come and inspire their audience. From our experience in the past, Diverge, when were you researching topics around leadership, or were you looking at what was current and thought this could be very interesting because people already sort of know of the particular theme that you are bringing to the platform?
Yes, Sam. Research is key. Whether you are doing something that's current or you're looking at historical events, it has to obviously be something that the potential audience is interested in at this point in time. But you got to research your specific topic that you want to bring into the show, and then also research the prospective guest that you want to bring onto the show. And it's got to be in relevance to what the potential audience is interested in at this point in time. Even that is involving research for you to know what is it that the audience is interested in. And of course, for sustainability, your show that you may do this week has to flow into the show that you have in the following week. Again, as Maynard had mentioned, consistency is very vital in terms of the researching and the planning that you use to get into the shows. Sam?
Beautiful. Well, I'm excited to inform you that the first 5 units are going to talk to these issues in the next 5 Tuesdays before we start going on to the series of conduct 1 to conduct 35. We are on introduction and overview now, and I'm trying to give that overview. Next Tuesday, under Unit 2, we're going to look at the evolution of digital online radio. And I must tell you, I've started researching it. I'm blown away by the things I'm hearing about how actually online radio came about, and when was the first online radio station played, and who is the person who did that. I'm going to share that with you so that next time you can also enrich your own research. That will be followed by Unit 3, where we are then going to look at the evolution of podcasting, another really powerful offering that almost everybody wants to be involved in. But we wonder if these insights and the tools in the form of knowledge and platform is being addressed. And then we go on, the unit number 4 will be on, again, streaming as an offer. In other words, all the things that compile, make together this streaming industry, but the offering of it. And I think that will be quite very interesting, because there are a number of offerings there. People are creating, people are creating, people are interviewing, people are telling, people are conversing, people are playing, streaming music. People are streaming education, by the way, at universities. So that's going to be quite very interesting. And then Unit 5 will be about the content creation. That's my favorite, because every day, Divesh, we are actually creating content without being aware. Whether you're TikToking or you are Facebooking, you are actually creating content. The question is, are you aware?
Yeah, and I think, Sam, some of the lessons learned through a program such as the Digital Online Streaming Mastery also shows you from a cognitive perspective that you'll be tuned in to not only yourself but your surroundings, where you will actually then start to pick up that, hey, this is something that I need to share with somebody else. But without training such as that, you will probably not be cognizant of what's actually happened. So training is essential, developing your skills and being able to identify the potential content that you could package into shows and share that with your audience is something that's vital, Sam.
Beautiful. Leonard, how
Yeah,
does it
yes.
sound? Those next 5 topics we'll be handling in the next 4 Tuesdays.
Yeah, I think Unit 4 and 5, the streaming as an offer and the content creation, are the most powerful one as well, and especially when you're looking into this digital world. And I do agree that like everything we do, what we post, we are actually creating a content. And I think even most people, they just say it blindly that like, no, I'm creating a content, but like, do you follow all the basics of creating a content? I think is a big question.
Mm, mm. It is a subject on its own, indeed. Thank you so much. And then, of course, I'm mindful of the time because we have another show coming at the top of the hour. I just want to run through some of the conducts, because the listeners might be wondering, what are these conducts that these people are talking about? I'll talk from conduct 6 to conduct 10, and then I want you to comment quickly and we move on. Unit number 6 is conduct 1, which is self-introduction as a host or a co-host. Unit 7, which is conduct number 2, is about if you are the host, you have the duty to introduce your co-host. Conduct number 3, which is under Unit 8, is introducing the guests. And then Unit number 9, conduct number 4, is introducing the platform. In our case, it will be introducing this radio station. But if you are streaming, from the YouTube or from Facebook or from Twitter, and you probably will be calling yourself something else, Diverge Online, something like that. That is very important because that is the home where you are putting together the offering. And then the unit number 10 under conduct 5 is what we call checking in and starting the show. In other words, how do you settle people down? How do you go about chit-chatting and then start the show? I'll stop there and just check if it reminds you of your own journey in 2020 and 2021, and if you are excited to be revisiting some of these things.
If I can come in, Sam.
Yeah.
Yes, it's definitely
a
a reminder of the journey that I had gone through. And it's interesting that if you look at it post the development training, that it's really about respecting the show, respecting your audience, respecting yourself, respecting your co-host, as well as your guests that you might have on your show. And that self-respect that you build, it will then translate into a good package that you deliver in your show, and build again sustainability in the show, and have your audiences coming back to keep listening to or watching you on your streaming shows that you develop. So I'm excited as well to further enhance the knowledge and skills that I did acquire through the digital online streaming mastery course, but also then to share that to our audiences and to bring others along with us in this journey. I must say, Sam, that platforms such as TikTok has their place. It offers a lot of entertainment, but in terms of the content we are looking at, I think for myself, we're looking at more value creation and more storytelling, not very short little clips which people can use for, to laugh or to be entertained for a short period of time. So the online streaming mastery is about building real value content, which will then be available online for people to enjoy for many, many generations to come. Thank you, Sam.
Indeed, indeed. Maynard, I'm going to take you through the next ones and then ask for your comment. We continue from Unit 11, which is Conduct 6. It's about affirming and motivating your guest as you go through the show. Unit 12, Conduct 7, about you as the host or anchor leading the conversation, not allowing your guest taking over from you. And actually, I've seen a recent conversation a few days ago where I think the person who was interviewed ended up being a listener, and the guest was actually running the whole show. And that cannot really happen. You have to lead the conversation. That's under Conduct 7. And then Unit 13 under Conduct 8 is about following up in a conversation. In other words, when a guest has volunteered something that you did not ask in a show, it's very respectful and very, very good for your listeners that you listen and then you follow up, because that is a free addition to what you might have scheduled to talk about. So that is about the following up in conversation. And then Conduct 9 is about, it's important to challenge your guests. You can't just accept it as it is, but you have to challenge your guests with dignity though. And then I'll stop at Unit 15, Maynard, holding debates and arguments. The etiquette or the rules that you need to follow for you to hold debates and arguments online, and make sure that you don't end up actually fighting over or having arguments that are not helpful. And any reminder there for you as you reflect on the previous engagement?
Oh yes, no, thanks so much, I think for sure that is one of those key aspects that we need to look into, and the issue of challenging your guest in a respectful manner. I think it's one of those things. We do debate, especially online and all those things, but you need to do it in a respectful way so that the client or the guest doesn't feel down. but at the same time, giving them the platform to open up. So I think it's actually very, very, very important. And also following up on the conversation, because sometimes, yes, we give them the platform to engage with us and they end up telling us more and more information that is out of context. And anything that you pick as an important topic that they brought on the table definitely is good to follow up, just to engage maybe 2 seconds further on that conversation and just to broaden it up so that everyone it will be clear on the table. And definitely, for sure, I think these units, there is one of those ones that they help you to guide through the guest when you are online on how to engage with them. And I think, to me, that is also a take on as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm rushing through them because we're running out of time. At unit 16, conduct 11, listening actively and generatively. Conduct 12, eating and drinking etiquette. We spoke about that. Conduct 13, focusing and presenting. In other words, being fully present. Conduct 14, mobile phone etiquette during the show. Conduct 15, being authentic. And conduct 16, projection. In other ways, projecting the conversation in a way that the message is understood. Conduct 17, respectful interaction. 18, promoting the show. 19, making the show go viral. That's marketing. And I'll stop at 20 for Divesh's comment. And that is the guest criteria. And I think you touched on that, Divesh.
Yes, Sam. For me as well, the show benefits as well as the guest benefits. And sometimes the guest's brand itself as well needs to be developed, or if they are representing their organization, they have a product. So they also need to get an opportunity to share those benefits. As I mentioned, COMETSA is about community enrichment, community development. So the guests as well should have opportunities then to also market what they have to offer. So our listeners can not only benefit from their knowledge and skill and the information that they want to share, but also with regards to any product or services that they might be offering, Sam.
Beautiful. Indeed. Minat, I remember very well when you were looking for a guest for your eventing show. It was quite a challenge. That's conduct number 13. How do you go about source guests? Where do you get guests? Because guests are just not falling from anywhere. So that's conduct 21. And 22 is about identifying the guest as subject matter experts. How do you know that this person you're inviting is an expert on what you are going to talk about? Conduct 23 is about the reputation of the guest. Can somebody who's known to be unscrupulous out there or unethical come to your show? Is the reputation important, and how do you go about it? And then, of course, networking as a source of guests. The aftercare, which is like writing to them after the show, thanking them, and planning the implementation and knowing your guests and setting the rules and principles. I think those are almost the last ones, second last ones, and we will be looking towards closing the show and this part of the introduction. Any comments there?
Yeah, no, thanks. That is yeah, definitely during that time it was actually extremely difficult to source guests. Because you cannot just bring any T and Jones on the show. You need to bring somebody who has got a good content and which has got a good reputation as well, and people are looking after. So, and you will understand that during that time we were in the middle of COVID and all those things. So the networking sessions were also limited. So it was extremely difficult, because for us to source clients, it means we need to depend either on their LinkedIn profiles or on emails. And it's difficult for guests now to respond in time, things like that. But like a guest sourcing, it's a key when coming to bringing a guest in the studio and identifying such particular reputation like a guest. It's a duty, it's a homework at its own. It's not an easy thing. It's a homework at its own, and you definitely need to network more so that you can get exposure to more people in that field. So yes, is one of those things, but we found a way of dealing with that, and hopefully going forward we won't be struggling with sourcing our most important guest in the studio. So yes, I think that's how it is.
Yeah. I hope that these units are reminding us of so many things that we have learned that we could actually benefit further by just honing in. I'm looking at one here about uh, holding briefings. We used to say that you can't surprise your guests. You need to brief, you know, and then conducting things about news, media, and mastery. I mean, if you are not in the or you're not following the news, it might be very difficult to know what is trending, and might be difficult to become aware of people who are the authority on certain topics. And then contact 31 under Unit 26 is also remembering that you are actually representing the listeners as you are engaging with your guest, not yourself. And therefore you must be in control when the guest is going away from the topic, and that is the conduct number 32. Conduct number 33, which I think will be very interesting, is about managing time. And a few comments there, and at the same time I would like to inform the listeners that we will be welcoming George and Dolores top of the hour. If they are listening, I apologize to them. I haven't forgotten. We will be finishing just now and getting ready for. What is your point? Well, your take on the being in control and managing time? Conduct 33, Divesh. That is in the process of running a show. You can't forget about time.
Yes, as the old adage goes, time is money. And when you do your planning, your show is scheduled for an hour or 45 minutes or whatever the case may be. So it's very important that you get to share with your audience all that you had planned for them.
Yeah.
Planning even can't go exactly according to what you had put down on paper, and sometimes conversations go longer than you had hoped. So it's very important to control the flow of the conversation and always be cognizant of what you're giving to your audience. You also need to sometimes, unfortunately, rein in your guest, because he might be moving in the wrong direction. He might be nervous even. So you need to give him that support, and also steer the show in the right direction in terms of the quality content that you want to provide, as well as being on time, so that you respect as well your audience. Your audience is, even though I said everybody is important, but your audience is the main stakeholder, if I can put it that way, for your show. You're making the show for them. There's no show if nobody's listening. So you got to respect their time as well, so that if you say it's an hour, and if it's moving in the wrong direction in terms of timing, you got to pull that in back online and then refocus the show. And then sometimes even the guest might bring up some very important point, and then you might leave what you had planned initially and focus in on that specific point, because it might be some burning issue that you feel that your guests might really be interested in. So it's important to control, as much as it is important to plan ahead for your show. As the show takes place, you got to be in control and be able to take it in the direction that it needs to be taken in. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. And lastly, conduct 34 and 35. 34 is about sourcing the topics and the themes. We touch on that. Let's practice conduct number 35, and that is checking out and ending the show. Who wants to check out first? What did you take from this conversations, Maynard? Today's conversation.
Oh wow!
What's the takeaway for you?
Thanks so much. No, thanks so much, Narissa. For me, takeaway on this whole show today is just a reminder of what we went through. All the contacts is something that we need to always revisit them now and then, so that we can be up to date. And from myself, we say we inform, we entertain, we develop, we educate, we empower, we support, we associate, and we network. From my side, I thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful checking out. Divesh, checking
From
out.
my side, Sam, takeaways is that the online digital streaming platforms are growing in leaps and bounds. The
Come in.
opportunities for the listeners, for the future youth, in terms of job opportunities, in terms of business opportunities, is rife and in the line of digital. And there's a lot of skills that they can learn from programs such as the Digital Online Streaming Mastery Program that COMETSA offers. Thank you, Sam.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, colleagues. We're running out of time. Unfortunately, time is money, as we've said. But thank you so much for covering this in detail. If my next guests are listening, George and Dolores, no panic. We will switch in your studio top of the hour and give you 5 minutes to settle in before we start the next show. The next show is also an inaugural show. It's also going to be happening on every Tuesday from 1900 hours to 2000 hours. It is a show called COMETSA Business Academy, and it's putting the spotlight on a number of offerings and courses that we have on the academy, but also the themes that are very pertinent to the world of work and broader economy. Thank you so much, colleagues. Don't go away. Just stay in the studio as I'm saying goodbye to the listeners for now, but we'll be rejoining them just after 1900 hours to start the next.